Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my reading of Fate Prototype Fragments of Sky Silver. Last time we read Acts 1 and 2 of the Little Lady saga, as it says here. And this time we're going to be here reading the next couple acts, probably 3 and 4. But I actually have no idea how long they are. I mean, I didn't memorize the chapter titles, so might be more. You'll see when you click the video. So with that said, let's settle on in and give ourselves a read of, again, this prequel to the original events of Fate Prototype, which never came out. It's complicated, but it's still cool nonetheless. So, with that said, let us get reading. So, Act 3. Even a heroic spirit in a girl's love story. A light. Despite the light having faded, occasionally, a dazzling light flares up. A concrete metal floor that was made to falsely look like bricks will shave by itself. A high-pitched metallic clanking noise echoes after a slight delay. At the same time, an exceedingly brutal impact shoots through the area, breaking and scattering the thick trees, as if to express the wind in one word. The green leaves soar. Pieces of bark go flying about. Streetlights smash. At the corner of the dark downtown high-rise area, there's not a soul to witness the scene. Even if someone on the off chance suddenly happens to pass by, in the eyes of ordinary people, it'd probably be difficult for them to guess what was being carried out here. At the base of a high-rise building, very separated from the JR Ikebukuro station, hey, I've been there. Cool. In the darkness. Also, okay, this is in Tokyo. That is also different. That's also quite different than Fate, which is in Fuyuki, which is really Kobe. In the darkness of a city late at night, who would have thought, regardless of whether it was reflected in their eyes or not, that there would be two shadows who were knocking blades while colliding at such super high speeds that their visual information couldn't be recognized by the minds of ordinary people. As one witnessed this, who could believe it? Could it be that this, just as I'd expect from the first-ranked servant, a voice resounds. One of the figures completely stopped in their tracks. Showing themselves, they muttered, well, lightly, taking a huge metal mass that is easily probably more than their own body height in one hand. That's quite a sturdy blade you got there, and yet it's quick, precise, with not so much as a crack in it, Lancer said. Yes, a lance. One that's too long, too large. Well, that saber. I never noticed the fluff that is around his neck, as well as on the ruffle of his cloak there. Very interesting, like the bottom there. Interesting. Oh, and that's the lance. It's supposed to be in the middle there. The metal mass, which had a spread shaped like a blade with a wide tip, is an object that can only be seen in the current 20th century records, such as in books and films, or inside of a museum. Spanning a long time since before the Christian era up to the modern times, it was positioned as an important weapon in the conflicts of mankind, and it is an item that many brave warriors entrust their lives to, and has continued to take lives. A long-handled blade, a flower on the battlefield. In other words, a lance. Surely, it was a bizarre scene. At the side of the Sunshine 60, which is the largest skyscraper building in Ikebukuro, under the overhead structure of the Shuto Expressway, which even now has a few vehicles occasionally running across it, a woman wearing steel armor holds her excessively long and very large lance as so. Surely, you are a hero with some renown, yes? Yes. She was smiling as she was mumbling it. Fun fact about the Sunshine 60. Now it is the Sunshine 100. It's a lot larger now. And Sunshine 25 is currently taking orders for hosting the second annual Caldia Hotel, the Fate Grand Order Hotel. So that building that they're talking about is not only still around, but it is where the Fate Hotel is literally going to be. I hope to book tickets there. I probably won't be able to. Also, they're like yaoi rooms, so I'll probably be going to like either the Shinsengumi room or the Lost Belt Avalon room. Either way, you know, we'll see what happens. But that's cool. That's cool that it's like, hey, guess what? Not only did your story get made, but now you have a hotel in that exact place. That's kind of cool. Also, happy birthday, Nasu. Man's 50 now. I see. So it's a lance, huh? Let's see how great this lance is. I don't know who's speaking right now. No matter what sort of event the Holy Grail, which is performed by using 7 heroic spirits, was, basic requisite knowledge had been automatically granted to me by the Holy Grail. A clash of magic by mages, a clash of enormous powers between fellow heroic spirits, and the embodiment of their special moves and miracles that are spoken of in heroic epics. Is it a wonder that twists even laws of physics? A reiteration of myth? Or maybe a type of violation towards the world? The girl before my eyes holds her huge lance in one hand. Oh, is this Saber? I think this might be Saber speaking then. The girl before my eyes holds her huge lance in one hand, and makes it to spin lightly around and around. Although its appearance could generate an illusion that would make one question whether it is made of paper, I can already grasp the weight of the lance and where the huge blade that can easily be mistaken for a large shield makes its tip with my body. A heavy lance that surpasses human wisdom. It probably easily exceeds 100 kilograms. Though that's unlikely if even a portion of the grip is made up of a large steel lance. If that's the case, then the lance that huge and excessively heavy is likely an item that surpasses the natural laws. Truly, it is the most fitting weapon to be held by the heroic spirit of the lance. I see. The admiration in his heart, he'll let it ride on his voice. With a figure that's clad in armor shining in blue and silver colors, he, Saber, while drawing back on his right foot, will lower the tip of his sword to his back. It's one of his specialty stances. In modern times, the opportunity to even swing it on the battlefield has long since gone already. So yes, he'll show that he can adopt his sword, which should already be a weapon of the past like her lance, with both hands like this. In order to fight, to cross blades, to face off against an opponent who carries a lance and imminently stands in his way. At the base of the high-rise building, which boasts a surface height of nearly 240 meters, in the middle of a plaza that was built with fake bricks and made to resemble a mid-sized public park at first glance, on truly bad scaffolding, where many loose steps overlapped. Standing on the stairs a few steps ahead of him, and facing the enemy who's looking down at him, was a woman who suits the silence of the night. Long hair won't necessarily become a shackle on the battlefield, so is it a display of her ability and assurance? A woman of the lance. There was one female lance user amongst my comrades in my training days, but it's like her fighting style differs from hers. Nothing also came to mind from his actual memories about her armored attire either. That means she's a heroic spirit from a foreign country that's not Britain. Your sturdy lance is mighty indeed, fourth-ranked servant. Lancer. Oh, so I've been discovered. Unlike mine, yours was very easy to discern. I guess so, though it's quite lamentable that you won't do me the favor of showing me yours. The woman weakly smiles. Yes, his sword cannot be seen. It's an invisible sword after all. I'm concealing the sword's true form by manipulating refracting light, with a huge volume of air or wind that can be gathered and trapped from its surroundings. Thus, it's from Lancer, the lance-using heroic spirit, that it means that she is marking the warrior, who possesses a perfectly transparent and unclear weapon as her enemy. It's a difficult item you use. Your invisible weapon, I mean. I'll accept your surrender at any time. A knight by nature is someone who doesn't swing his sword at a lady. Oh, you're so kind. The woman doesn't relax her smile. If you insist on being so kind to me, like this. The woman moves. No, the warrior moves. How much significance does gender difference have in this place? None. His opponent is a heroic spirit, for the manifestation of a legend itself who has carved their name in the intervals of history and even throughout time, leaving himself in the memories of people, such a small thing who has no significance at all. What's there is just a miraculous power that comes from having been manifested like this, a defiance to the laws of physics, and an overwhelming destruction. Behold. Is that huge figure of a lance, or a metal clump, in the gentle fingertips of Lancer, who is approaching him at ultra-high speeds? The ultra-heavy lance, which has been played with lightly in her hands just before, has now disappeared. Was she using wind prana like Saber? Some sort of magic, or something brought about by the effects of her supernatural legend? All of that is wrong. She's simply just fast. Fast. Quick. It is certainly quick, as it turns guided by Lancer's palm and fingertips, lightly being handled more than a feather from a bird fluttering in the sky, and going no further than to raise its speed to an invisible level. How troubling. She releases her voice at the same time as her voice. She releases her voice at the same time of her voice. I assume you mean she releases her lance at the same time as her voice. Perceiving it, she released 5 strikes roughly at the same time. Oh wait. No, that's still a weird sentence. This huge lance, which was turning at such high speed that it had been further raised beyond its limits, attacks him 5 times. Straight after that came 5 metallic clanks. Saber received Lancer's 5 consecutively released lance strikes, with his own sword direct from the front. His authentic invisible sword blade deflects the 5 pseudo-invisible strikes with ultra-high speed, an immediate response to its super heaviness and ultra-high speed, a treason against the natural laws of physics, which is similar to taking a bullet that had been fired rapidly. But that is a heroic spirit. That is a being called a servant who fights seeking the Holy Grail. Blade and a steel blade colliding at high speed. At roughly the same time, a shockwave erupts through the pair's surroundings. It smashes the imitation bricks, and one by one shatters the scarcely surviving streetlights. Splendid. Her voice still has a tinge of a smile there. Without responding, Saber pulls back. Immediately after, 5 consecutive strikes assailed the spot where he had been standing, leaving very deep claw marks in the hard concrete metal floor. A claw. Yes, a claw. Already the lance that Lancer wields had transformed into a hand. A huge invisible hand is there, the back of her elegant body, along with sharp steel claws at each of one of its fingertips, attacking the Sky Silver Knight. Perhaps if there was someone to witness this scene, they'd remember it as a delusion. The hand is attacked repeatedly, a repetitive 5 strikes. At times, Saber evades it, sometimes receives it with his sword, falling back completely. Evade. Defend. Neither is perfect. There's no need to avoid the usual after effects of the shockwaves, but I must attack at some point. The reach of the strikes caused by her long shafted lance is long. Nevertheless, if she keeps coming at me with these repeated ultra-high-speed attacks, then it'll be difficult for me to counterattack with my blade, which has an inferior strike range. However, he avoided the 5 consecutive strikes for a total of 7 times. Wow. That's like 30 strikes. But straight after that, Saber alters his strike. Although the 5 consecutive strikes have a wondrous technique to it, it's too monotonous, too soft. I'll slip past her invisible hand with a paper-thin difference, and just like that I'll flash my blade while rotating in my body, which is covered in silver armor anyways, and mow her straight down at once. This sword that's clad in wind, that blade edge, will be swung with one hand, and not with both as it is now. As I let my body turn, it'll be a one-handed blow brought by my half-bodied stance. It's far longer reach than when I use both hands, will reach Lancer's slender body, which ought to be in shape to protect herself with her huge lance's attack range. He penetrates her chest armor, which appears to be compiled of prana, and in that instance, flames danced. The fire covered Saber's vision. Regardless, he charges power into the hand that clasps his sword and pushes the blade in. I must take the enemy's heart and cram the tip of my blade into it, but her reaction is weak. Taking a glance, Lancer's figure is largely separated from mine. It's not a range I can reach if I swing my sword. Again, a distance where I need to shorten the gap. You're rather formidable. At last, the smile disappeared from Lancer's voice. Is that all you've got? You, the one who persisted with all these all too monotonous attacks. Oh, so again, I've been discovered. Oh, kind one. Is this perhaps an expression of your mercy to try and end it in one blow by targeting my heart? If it's mercy. Again, he preps his invisible sword. There are many ways to shorten the gap. Still, Saber hasn't shown some of his cards yet, but it's probably the same for she who holds the lance. There's no way she could have formed her being as a heroic spirit simply by manipulating an ultra-heavy lance and making it larger. The possibility of her concealing a trump card is also very high. For example, oh kind one, kind servant, if you insist on being so kind to me then, like this. She produced from somewhere something like a small vial that indeed looks like a magical item. It will bother me. Lancer immediately gulped it down, the made red liquid which filled the small vial. Quietly, still with her gaze towards him. One of the multi-residential apartment buildings that is lined up roughly close to Sunshine 60 Building, Toshima Prefecture, Ikebukuro. A roof which shouldn't have anyone on it. A time that's already suitable enough to be called early dawn rather than express it as midnight. The building, which held various business services on each floor, is uninhabited on all levels. It should have been the same as the roof as well. However, there is one girl here. One would probably call it some kind of bizarre scene. The person who shouldn't be there is there like it's natural for her to be there, and is the same as the lance user from before in a sense. However, the presences that came with them are different. If one from before was an aggressive bizarreness which rips apart those who approach her, then what is this? How should he express it? At least for the Saber of this moment, he couldn't find the words to compare it to. Arriving here at the agreed-upon spot, he stares back at this girl's whole smile. Manaka. He briefly calls the girl's name. Manaka Seijo. I'm always bad. The JY is always tough with me. His master as a servant. Amagus. My soul master, who challenges the Holy Grail War to obtain the Holy Grail with me. Manaka sits quietly on top of a camp sheet that she spread out on one corner of the roof. She appears to have been waiting for me to come here. For the moment, she has a huge basket and a portable thermos with her. You're here right on time. You're so amazing, Saber, she says as she pours black tea with rising steam from the thermos into a cup, which I will take a sip of my own tea. This is Chikorita tea again from Pokemon. It's really nice. Delicious. Right. I've just about finished making my preparations too, so will you please be seated? Radiantly, she calls out to me with such a whole smile. It's like she's a girl of marriageable age. That's weird, bud. Who came for a date to a huge park and decides to play enough for an entire day off. No. It might be that I have these types of strong emotions for Manaka. I spread myself out on the sheet, like this. She hands over the warm drink to me. I took you outside. I somehow exposed you to danger, and I was absolutely against it, but... While tilting her head a bit, she smiles. But if I had known that waiting together like this would be something enjoyable, then it's scary. Scary? After all, it makes it seem like I want to go out again and again, even though I... That is troubling. Up on the building? Dude in the suit, though. He rocks that suit. It's funny because, like, he gets a suit in FGO, but it's just like a generic, like, well, generic, but it's like a white suit. I think, you know what, for the sake of not cramping Zero Saber style, I get it. I retort my non-deceitful thoughts. It's not that my body is shivering to the coldness of the night. Although the hot tea is pleasant, it is. Let me take another sip. Good. As I moisten my throat with a gulp of it, I quietly consider whether I should somehow admonish my master for very ill-advised words, though the words didn't come out immediately. After all, I just discovered with my body the other day that it wasn't necessarily limited to sending words from over here to my lovely and even pretty master. And then, since it was still dinner, with that, Manaka opens the nearby basket and starts spreading out the food she prepared. There's bread with lots of ingredients sandwiched in it, something that was flavored with salt and rolled up into rice. Sandwiches or rice balls, which do you prefer? Honestly speaking, I hadn't tasted either of them before. They're probably dishes from the modern era. I haven't heard of them nor seen them in my homeland before. Have you heard of the Earl of Sandwich? He's Britain's... No, your future... No. If you look at it from now, then it's the past. Just forget it. However, the noble was the one who created this. The Earl came up with the idea of it because he wanted to enjoy his games without taking time out for meal times, and he was kind of a strange person, I think. As she smiles, Manaka gently takes out the bread. So this is, well, a meal fit enough for a middle of a game. I see. I bite into the item that has been handed to me. It's good. It was an item with toast, which had been fried brown on the front and back sides with ingredients sandwiched into them. The way it was made had fresh vegetables such as tomatoes and fresh lettuce inserted on either side of the roast chicken and cheese, which had been inserted into the toast. The many juicy and fresh tomatoes very suits the meat and cheese. Indeed, I can feel it's a matching item. In the era that he once lived in, fresh vegetables were extremely precious items. However, in this city of 1991 CE, there's no one who'd speak that. Good? Yes. I nodded as I eat. Although the Earl's name hadn't been attached to it, the custom of eating ingredients inserted into bread itself was something that had been passed down in Britain since the time of ancient Rome. Saber honestly nodded. The bread which I eat like this, ever since before I like it. Since way before. I've liked it. But those words of his were not a lie. Saber, who didn't hesitate to mention that he was a king and a knight at the same time, didn't rarely tell a lie. So for now, he'll simply state the facts. Just now? Is Manaka flustered? Manaka is flustered. Huh? Chew. As she stuffs the sandwich into her mouth, she looks at me. Just now, I guess. Manaka's cheeks flare up. Huh? Chew. Next, I think I'll try some of that rolled up rice thing. I think I'm just a bit overly self-conscious, I guess. Like I thought. Manaka's cheeks are red. This is better. Yes, he thinks. For example, this cruel behavior of hers when she told her father about tonight's strategy didn't really suit a girl her age. This is better. With the healthy red tinging her sweet cheeks, the radiance of a fairy and the brightness of a flower suit her a lot better than this. You're so mean, Saber. Saying that, she puffs up her cheeks as if to sulk. Manaka pouts her lips. A lovely girl. Yes, Saber thinks from the depths of his heart. Thus, I am compelled to think of the dangers of her throwing herself into the cruelty of this Holy Grail War. For example, it's true that even now in this moment, the Holy Grail War has already started. The first ever historical large-scaled magic war. Oh, that's interesting. It's the first one? That's quite different from, the fourth and the fifth and all that which we get in Stay Night. A mutual slaughter where magi who wield mysteries and heroic spirits who can force even the most powerful of physical laws to be subordinate to them will kill each other, but even though it is, She tried to prove that she could safely go out like this and so on. However, those actions are far too dangerous. More than anything, she's too overprotective of me, a servant. Until the very end, Manaka had opposed the idea of taking Saber outside. The other day, Manaka, who was unyielding even to her father, who was preaching to her about the vitality of tactics and strategy in the Holy Grail War, now servants were their fighting strength and the key to all their movements, had refused to expose Saber to danger, and stubbornly said this: "I'll do something about it myself." And thus, there shouldn't be any way for her to survive. If it was your regular Magus, then they probably wouldn't even survive for half a day. But she was special. "That's it. I just came up with a great idea, Saber." Manaka, who smiled as she said this, suddenly spun around and proposed tonight's patrol. In other words, it was an active patrol for the other servants and masters in this late at night city. Manaka and Saber would act separately, carry out intelligence gathering, and meet up with each other in this spot in early dawn. And then, of course, he had argued against it. He had, but Manaka hadn't listened to him. "I confronted a Saber just now. It's probably..." Swallowing the sandwich, I briefly tell her about the start of the Holy Grail War and the previous battle just now, the encounter with Lancer, the 4th-ranked servant, and that after they had fought for a number, she quickly retreated immediately after having taken something. Whether the small vial that she produced is her noble phantasm is still unclear for now. Manaka only nods, uninterested. As Saber tries to scold her with "Master, if you are separated from me, then you mustn't take independent action. If positions were reversed, you would have been exposed to danger," but she just calmly... "Were you worried about me?" "Of course I was." "Don't be such a worrywart, Saber." "Yep, I wonder if it's 'cause you're kind. But don't worry, I'd immediately know if someone was approaching us." I try to smile and slightly say it's nothing. Certainly, I know that a barrier that has been attached to this building with magic. Although he who is not sensitive to magic is there, it wouldn't be difficult for a servant to sense the magic of this place. After all, they are beings who are standing here now because of prana. There is a barrier here. Additionally, it's not a simple one that's been made in a day. It's a powerful barrier, fitting for a first-ranked magus who holds 7 feathers. If it's a normal person or an average magus, they wouldn't be able to come up to the 2nd floor, let alone the roof. However, the servants we confront are all powerful heroic spirits. How far can they get through this modern magus's barrier? More importantly, the existence of a barrier itself basically shouts there's a magus here. Truthfully, I think that Lancer had probably shown herself, because the magus who was Lancer's master had probably sensed the existence of the barrier that Manaka had spread over this building. "No, it's too dangerous. Let's say, yes, if it was servant assassin." "If it's about assassin, then it's fine. I've come to an arrangement with her, just now." "Huh? Came to an arrangement?" "It's not like I beat her up, but she's not our enemy anymore." "By not our enemy, what do you exactly mean by that?" "That I took care of her, silly." Without hesitation, she said it with an expression that still had the radiance of a blooming flower on it. In that instant, Saber pondered her words. A single magus against a servant heroic spirit? I didn't feel the unique presence of a servant tonight. The prerequisite knowledge the Holy Grail brings, right, imprints even the general etiquette of servant battles into Saber's mind. A strange pressure like that of the one that I felt when I faced Lancer. If that is a unique presence of a servant, then I can puff out my chest with pride and say that I didn't feel the existence of any other heroic spirits besides Lancer at this downtown area tonight. Of course, considering if it is Assassin who has this presence concealment skill which allows them to erase their presence in their own mind, then it is possible. He himself was also worried about it. But a magus confronting a servant one-on-one and coming out safe. It's not something I can believe so offhandedly. Even so, it's safe here. There are no servants or magi within 3 kilometers of the surrounding area. I can't feel the lies in Manaka's words or eyes. It was her clear eyes, it was her serene voice, and There's such a loveliness and sweetness in that smile. Hey, Saber. There is some sort of passion there. Since I took care of a servant by myself, it was the radiance of a fairy, the brightness of a flower. However, would a fairy or a flower be approaching me like this? Our distance is close. As he notices her, the girl's slightly florid cheeks were immediately right in front of Saber's face. May I have a reward? I don't know about this. With a voice brimming with hope, Manaka said it thusly, quietly, still with her gaze towards him. That's so mean. You're not playing fair, doing such a... With a small voice, Manaka continues saying something while pouting. Whether she didn't have a problem with that as her reward, judging by her reaction, is somehow... For Manaka, who set her hands on his shoulders, the action Saber chose was a kiss. It's a good thing my eyes immediately went down to see the next sentence. A kiss. Gently to the forehead. That is... Sure. I thought that suddenly kissing somehow might have been too fast, but I'm happy. Yeah, about the forehead. I'm happy you touched it, but that is, you see... Embarrassed and happy. A girl who gets flustered and turns red. It pleasantly no further reflects the state of the small lady. That is, it seems to be very suitable behavior. For her age. For one, her age. This child is probably pure. That much is certain. He thinks of a certain color. It is white. A white that is pure with nothing drawn on it. An untainted white, or is it an absolute white that could paint over all creation? I'm happy he went with that. So, like, I understand that it's the idea of the young fairy tale, like, you know, it's like when little girls read fairy tale stories and, like, Disney, they're like, I wish my prince will come, right? And so it's very much that. Unlike Disney, though, let's hope that, you know, he's like, you know, I shouldn't. That's weird. And I'm happy that the Saber seems to have a really good head on his shoulders, at least, you know, for now. We'll see. I really like that idea of... Because white... The color white can represent a couple things. It can represent, again, that idea of a untainted, pure, you know, lilac. But it could also be the white of omnipotence. The white of everything in creation, you know? So, let's see. Oh, Act 4. If the other one is about this length, we'll keep going with this. Okay, so that one has a note there, 3. Kyoko and Now, names from the drama CDs. Oh, okay, cool. Cool. Oh, so this has some stuff from the drama CDs put in it. Very nice. That's useful. The strategy of life never appears out of darkness. Hey, so this is Kyoko and B is Now. Okay. Hey, do you know about that rumor? Yeah, I know it's that, it's that, right? Miss Mary. Yeah, Miss Mary. I've read the exact same story in my cram school, too. It's becoming a rumor even in the nearby schools, too. In Tokyo, right? It seems the rumor about Miss Mary is only in Tokyo. Is it true? It's a true story. After all, it's happening in Tokyo. But I haven't seen it on TV. It's just that it hasn't been shown on TV yet. What story are they talking about? A rumor that's only in Tokyo. Mary. Miss Mary? For Ayaka Seijo, it was a topic that she didn't really know much about. While chewing and nomming on... Really, we're using the word nomming? Chewing and nomming on the school lunch bread that she was holding with both hands, she was vaguely overhearing the conversation between her 2 female classmates, who had precisely lined up and joined their desks together. Today's menu is a bread roll, a dark-colored stew, and a fresh vegetable salad. Same bread roll, the same old taste. Although I actually do like deep-fried bread, I don't especially think of it as dissatisfying since it's not something that appears every day. I just think, oh, that's a bit of a pity. But today it's a bit pleasing since it came with marmalade jam. Ripping the small plastic wrapping with a snap, I push out the contents and eat the attached bread bit by bit. I like marmalade better than margarine. I don't hate sweet things. Taking a bite, I bit into the bread. The taste is always different thanks to the bittersweet marmalade. I don't hate it. It's my favorite food group. Her name, did you hear? Her name. All right, she's like baby at this time. She's like baby. Wow, yeah. Miss Mary's name. Rather than Miss Mary's name, maybe it's the name of the rumor. I have no idea. What is it? I've heard that she will always call out to you at 11 p.m. Oh, wait, are we doing Bloody Mary? Okay. I've heard that she always calls out to you at 11 p.m. Yeah? And then her companions will die without fail. Yeah. So they say Death Mary comes to kill you at 11 p.m. Death Mary. Okay, that's not what I remember as a kid, but okay. It feels like I came and overheard a dangerous story. I wonder what they're talking about. The ones chatting away were always chatting about something at lunchtime. There was a girl, Kyoko, who apparently went 3 days a week to the cram school next to the station, and a girl, Now, who always seemed to be watching TV. Since I've never played with them after or outside school, I wouldn't exactly know what's going on with them anyway. Or either way. Although, I don't think the two of them are particularly lying. The two of them seem to be talking about a rumor. Since I've gotten used to listening in on someone's chat, I try to listen to their talk, while holding another mouthful of bread in my mouth, hamu, and repeatedly chewing. Could I understand them even from now on? I couldn't listen to them properly, because at first, I was more concentrating on carefully removing the marmalade from its container. 11 p.m. Death Mary. I guess I'll try to chase them up later, and make sure to carefully hear it from them, but I won't ask them about it myself. Anyway, even if I were to open my mouth and say something, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't even go to cram school, and I barely get one issue of Girls Manga magazine per month, so I have a fainter feeling than usual that I probably won't mix in well with the gossip of elementary school girls who are the same age as me. So I'll just use my mouth for my meal. Choo-choo. But I'll simply catch the information by concentrating on my ears. It was a rumor of a foreign girl who gently calls out to adults. A girl. It was at night, when the girl would appear in the middle of the street late at night. At night? It was death. She brings death without fail in accordance to her name. Die. Does she kill them? Like I guessed, it was a dangerous story. It was a rumor. A friend of a friend, or a friend of a friend's dad, or a person who works for that friend of a friend's dad, or something like that. A strange story which had been specifically received like they had seen it, however vaguely from someone who hadn't directly seen it or had known about it like that. I've heard about this sort of thing before. I can immediately recall it. For example, wasn't there a dog with the face of a person that was popular in class last year during the second semester? That's a yokai. That's a yokai. Like both from Yokai Watch, Manji Mutt, but also like an actual historical yokai. It's the same story as that. A dark rumor whispered amongst children. My favorite is Tiny Oji-san. There's a story about if you run into like a 1-inch tall Oji-san or middle-aged man, he will grant you a wish. A school ghost story? Or one of the school's 7 wonders? I wonder if it's the same as that. Ayaka thinks faintly. Like the number of stairs that are more going up than going down, or the anatomical model or doll in the science prep room that walks by itself, or the portrait of the musician in the music room whose eyes move, or the girl who lives in the toilet, stuff like that. If it's not connected with the school, then there's the slit-mouthed woman, the mirror that turns purple, the white string that exits from the earlobes, the blue and red paper, moreover. Yeah, these are all stories I've heard before. Except the one with the white string from the earlobes. That's a weird one. There's just table turning. I think it's something like doing make-believe necromancy, where you place a 5 yen coin on top of a piece of paper with Japanese syllabary written down to make it appear to imitate a Ouija board. When they invited me to do it during one lunch break around spring with an Ayaka, you do it too, I stared at these girls, wondering if they could possibly be from a Magus bloodline, but there was nothing to it. It was just a silly kid's game. Like, who is the one that we liked? The person that we disliked, our dislikes, the things we're scared of, we asked those sorts of things, without invoking any sort of magic. That someone within our group who had placed their finger on the 5 yen coin just drags it. Now that I think about it, it was these two that came and invited me that one time. The two that like to gossip. The very cowardly twosome. All of them died. That's right. Everyone who met that person couldn't be saved. No way, I'm scared. See? She said it, she was scared. I've heard that a person who saw the mirror also died. Wonder if they died because they touched it. Eh? Is that true? It's scary. After all, I heard a lot of policemen have died too. Oh, that's scary. I think it's weird. The contents of the rumors were definitely about a terrible and horribly dangerous stuff. A foreigner, Miss Mary, calls out to an adult male who is returning home from his late-night job and enters a hotel with him. Oh, wait, so that's... Okay. The next morning, the figure of the girl Mary disappears with just one sentence. Welcome to the world of death, written on a mirror in English with crimson red lipstick, with the same red kiss mark next to the exclamation mark. The man is dead on top of the bed. The cause unknown. Even though he wasn't injured, what do you suppose the reason for dying was? I'm also told that it's becoming news. The ones being targeted are only adult males, with not even one woman being picked off. And in the girl who commutes to the cram school's story. That's such a weird way to do that sentence. And in the story of the girl who commutes to the cram school is what it should be. A friend of her dad's in the next town had been killed in the same manner. Or, it's not a school ghost story at all. A school ghost story, or rather an adult ghost story. A ghost story to fathers who go home by walking through the streets late at night. Compared to the one about the dog with a human face, I feel there's a sense of realness to this story. But at the same time last year, I don't think I was even a bit scared. I think it's creepy. Although if I say I'm scared because I don't have a clue about what Miss Mary is thinking, or what she's done in the first place, then I probably can't say I'm scared. But still, I have never actually felt fear before, so that's because Ayaka already knew. If it's a piece of gossip that's been sublimated into a mystery, it's probably endowed with a power too. Something to the extent of a rumor spoken between children is not enough for all of that. At least Papa wouldn't say that a mysterious human-faced dog actually exists. Besides, my Papa is just fine. I quietly think while drinking a bottle of milk. After all, there's only a few who risk going out and returning home late at night, with many people staying at home. It's alright. And even if a murderer actually does exist, it's not like it's going to stop the mysterious, rumors of the aforementioned Mary that have been whispered about by elementary schoolgirls making the rounds. I can't do anything about it either, which is why I'm not scared. Same as last year, although I can't say that to any of my classmates. It's because my papa's a magus. It's because he's a person who deals with real mysteries. It's some sort of ghost story. That's why I'm not going to lose against some gossip. Better yet, a real phantasmal species. Yeah. Muttering a little, Aika bites into the bread again. Cute! A beast, which had been imagined. A being only spoken of in old legends. We have given them the name phantasmal species to indicate this. Not equal to any known life form, these beings which had transformed their appearances into mysteries themselves, who have been divided by court rank into divine beasts, phantasmal beasts, and monstrous beasts. It is also possible for a magus to employ them if they are a being to the level of a monstrous beast. There are also examples where parts of their corpses may have been utilized as a magus's mystic code. If it's a being that surpasses phantasmal beasts, then both are also possible. First, a person has no chance of witnessing one in the modern era. Servants can easily destroy this common sense, for they are far surpass magical mysteries. They can conquer the illusions that people dream of. In other words, they in time could get to employ even beings that go beyond phantasmal beasts. In the Holy Grail War, we can use mythological mysteries through our servants. Thus, you should never forget your dreams. Keep them a secret, conceal it. The disclosure of mysteries is a taboo for magi. The Holy Grail War must be carried out in darkness. Another excerpt from an old notebook. Later, after school, the sun was totally down when I was returning home. It's definitely the season's fault for the sun sinking so fast. It's good evidence for why the breath I exhale is starting to turn white, the same as it did this morning. I can see it clearly with my eyes. It's a bit cold. Ayaka blew out a ha into both her hands. If it's come to this, then I think I would have been better if I had brought gloves with me. Cold. I stop at the front gate. As I look at it like this, it certainly appears to be a large house in its own way. My classmates who live nearby calling it a mansion, even though I guess the words don't instinctively come to me when I see it. I think about whether it's a little larger on the inside rather than the outside, speaking of its size. Even so, regardless of how the structure is inside, I don't feel it's an exaggeration to call it a mansion somewhat, because I know mostly everything about it besides the rooms that I can't enter. A slightly bigger one is my house. My homeroom teacher was saying during her home visitation that it's a Western-style house. Beyond the gate, I can see the trees in the front yard and the Western architectural-styled porch. The gate. Although it's not locked with a key, I can't go inside just by pushing it normally with my hands. Papa was saying that he extended the barrier, and he also informed the reason behind it, too. It's something like participating in a large magic ritual or something like that. Personally, I don't mind going to elementary school. You told me that I must, although you sternly warned me to be careful whenever I go inside or outside the house. She's addressing her papa mentally with this. I follow the steps as I've been told. After checking there's no one in the area, I say a few words. After that, I trace the shape of the path that I was taught with my finger on the metal fixtures close to the gate's handle. Although I'm not very skillful at it, I charge my prana. Yes, I can't do it well at all. If I could, then it wouldn't have taken me more than 5 minutes of time to do a deed that should be settled in mere seconds. I wonder if I did it more quickly than yesterday. I mutter as I push the gate. The gate, which was as solid as a stone wall, smoothly opens for me without delay. Behind it is the same ordinary house again. Gripping the gate, I tightly shut it. I'm back. I mumble, slightly. If it's around this time, then Papa and Big Sis are not in the living room, and generally they are mostly doing something in the room that I can't enter, or the room that I mustn't enter, so I know there's not much meaning in doing so because no one has ever stuck out their face or even called out back to me. But for now, I'll say it. It's a daily custom. I'll say I'm home, and when I come back home. And someone says, welcome back when I get home. Welcome home. Since there's no one home, I'll just say it to myself for today, too. Proceeding through the front yard, I open the front door. Huh? Is there some sort of nice smell? Suddenly, I recall the early morning from a couple days ago, and my mind relaxes thinking, no way. The fragrant smell of baking wheat flour. It's the same as the one I smelled yesterday, so if I go to the kitchen, then I might be able to meet her. The person who I couldn't meet with this morning. Yes, on this morning I was alone during mealtime, and alone again during my daily chores. As I exit the entrance hall, still holding onto my Rancel backpack, I head through the hallway to the kitchen, and as I did so, in there was... Oh, welcome back, Ayaka. A pretty face, a pretty voice. Despite it being evening, even though it was already dark, dazzling and glittering, my older sister Manaka was smiling in her apron-clad figure. Big sis, what are you making? What do you think I'm making? I think it's cake because it smells nice. Oh, so close. But, well, I guess you are half right. As she says it, her smiling figure is very pretty. Big sis Manaka. It's the same her that I saw on that morning, a few days ago, with her princess in a castle apron-like figure. See, she's dancing and spinning around again for today, too. It's just like that anime film my mom liked and got to show to Papa a long time ago, of a princess who dances as she sings. A beautiful person. It's just like I'm in that film. My eyes are not my eyes, surely. They're some sort of a camera that projects films. They're projecting my big sister. As I think in such a manner, I completely space out. What's wrong? Your eyes are so wide open. Your mouth is also open, Ayaka. Huh? Her white fingertips. They're at a distance where I could and couldn't touch her, but I couldn't touch them. I'm just on the verge, though. It's because you're so pretty, big sis. You're like a princess. Is that so? Yeah, I really think so. Do I appear like a British princess to you? British? Yeah, but if I really did appear that way to you, then that makes me happy. Big sis smiles, the same as she did on that morning a few days ago. She's sparkling, like she's dazzling and glittering. It's already evening, there's no sunrise, and even though the setting sun is about to fall, she's twirling around the kitchen while cooking meals so joyfully in her apron figure. She's sparkling, but she's moving her hands so perfectly, so quickly, and with good adeptness. She's executing it well. She's not holding a kitchen knife today. Instead, she's carrying various scales in her hands. I don't know what she's making. If the cake part is half correct, then what's the remaining half? As I was about to ask that, I noticed my appearance. Again, I was carrying my Ransel backpack on my back. In addition, I hadn't washed my hands yet. So after I rush over to the washroom and place down my personal stand, I wash my hands with cold water and rinse out my mouth too. I place my backpack in the hallway. Again, I head to the kitchen. Big sis, I'm a little uncertain about whether I should ask her. Can I help out too? I stop at the entrance to the kitchen, which I'd entered just now, without hesitation. Unlike my big sis who can do anything, I know that regardless of whether it's magic, studies, or being a housemaid or anything at all, I normally rank further behind her than that, so it might be better for big sis Manaka to do it herself than to have me help her. I believe that to be true. Choo choo. As I did so, big sis kept turning towards my hands and utters a single word. Help. Will you help me? It was a soft voice, though I had no way of knowing what kind of face big sis was making, because I couldn't see her from over here. Surely, I think, she kept a smile. She'll give the same face as before. I had often imagined big sis's smiling face, which I hadn't seen for a long time, like this, but I had no idea until the morning of that moment what it looked like. I gave a huge nod and uttered, Yep. Okay then, perhaps you can grab that jar on the shelf over there for me. The baking powder, okay? Oh, got it, big sis. Oh, and now, please remove the eggs out of the refrigerator for me, okay? Oh, and please choose the 2 biggest ones for me. Okay. Seams are not broken. Now if you can straighten up the table over there, Could it be? Yeah, even if it's not it, then maybe it is. It's not just taking up the place. It's the first time today that I've helped Big Sis's cooking. Though Papa tells me don't touch the oven by myself, it's a different story if I'm together with Big Sis, but there's not much chance of that happening yet. It's the first time I'm helping Big Sis. If I understand right, I feel a little bit too nervous. After all, Big Sis definitely doesn't really need my help, so... eggs, how many was it? 2. Don't worry, we'll still have a few eggs left, so if at that moment they break, then they'll break, so everything's a-okay. Yeah. Besides, I've already prepared plenty of spares for them and all the other stuff. Okay. Your voice is quivering. Do you perhaps hate carrying eggs, Ayaka? Nah, I'm so slow. I'm doing it so incredibly slow. But just looking at her, Big Sis Manaka isn't particularly mad at me. I knew I couldn't see her face, but I could still hear your laugh. Here you go. Here's the eggs. Thanks. You made sure to carry them properly. You're remarkable. No, I'm not. To get something like this for carrying just some eggs, I seem a little pathetic. Naturally, I looked down. Now the rest was... Oh, speaking of eggs, let's see. Aika, do you like sunny side up eggs? Uh, yeah. Sunny side up or turnover? I prefer sunny. Suddenly it came out of my mouth. A lie. No, it's not really a lie. It's not something to lie about. The ones I really like are turnover eggs, but I prefer sunny-side-up eggs that my papa and Big Sis Manaka make for me, and since I haven't thought that I particularly hated them, it's not a lie. I don't hate them, I like them both, but it's now just a talk about me unreasonably saying whether I like them or not. This time, I'll make turnover eggs too. It seems like a lot of people like turnover eggs in England. I've made them before, so I'd like to do a test of it first, because they haven't come out nicely yet. Okay. You'll give it a try too, right? Yeah. It's so tasty. As she said that, Big Sis showed me her smiling face again. It's such a pretty smile. It's so glittering like a flower that's more beautiful than any other kinds of flowers that bloom in the garden. She's not a phantasmal fairy, but more like a cute and noble fairy like the ones that appear in picture books. Besides, I knew it, she's like a princess in a castle. Huh? Big sister, she's the same as she was this morning, but something feels slightly off. But it's not a seemingly happy kind of feeling. I wonder if something good happened to her. I think so. Tilting my neck, I slowly turn up to look at Big Sis's face from underneath her. Straight away, Big Sis returns my gaze with a, huh? What? Oh, you see... I'd been totally hasty, so hasty that she noticed me. I'm spacing out, I'm in a rush, and now I'm becoming careless about my helping out. Did something good happen to you? Just how many seconds did it take for me to come up with something like that? Oh my, does it appear that way to you? Yeah. It was nothing special, not a good thing, although... She touches her index finger to her lips with a Even that one gesture is so pretty and wonderful. You see, there's this funny animal who's gotten quite attached to me. An animal? Yes, an animal. Saying it, Big Sis smiles, looking towards me. She stares off to somewhere else while I, for some reason, feel this indescribable, terribly cold shiver run up my spine at this treasured possession. I utterly dropped the items that I was holding in my hands. Some of the eggs broke. Servants. Heroic spirits who have manifested. Saber, Berserker, Archer, Lancer, Rider, Caster, Assassin. The most powerful illusions that have been divided into 7 classes by the Holy Grail. They are very powerful, as mentioned above. They can split steel, smash the earth, and even pierce the sky. They have been constructed with temporary bodies by magic and are not proper living creatures. Even if they do possess an appearance that resembles human, they are not human. Hiding destructive power and a tenacity that far surpasses a human's or a creature's, they manifest as they were in their legends. But they are not omnipotent beings. They who have become an existence through prana and likewise run on the same prana are allowed to manifest for the first time by being provided prana from the Magus, who is to be their master. To be precise, a simple minuscule amount of prana taken from a Magus-level human is not their food, so don't mistake this as a straightforward expression of them. They cannot exist without prana. In other words, they cannot exist without a master. Although, as an exception, there are... An excerpt from an old notebook. 11 p.m., a high-rise, street-cornered building in West Shinjuku, Shinjuku Prefecture in the Tokyo metropolitan area. It was a place where all kinds of green... Oh, it's 11 p.m., I just realized. Yeah. It's a place where all kinds of green trees were growing and where figures could be seen beside the concrete townscape known as the new urban city center. Shinjuku Central Park, one of Shinjuku Prefecture's biggest leading green urban spaces. If this was daytime, then one would probably see figures of businessmen who work in the high-rise buildings, puffing their tobacco smoke in the shade of the trees during their 1-hour break. However, usually at this time, those traces of human life were almost gone. It's rare for this place to be completely uninhabited. At night, there are homeless people who sleep here and endure the coldness of the night air and the darkness cast by the trees. For they are the true colors of the few signs of human life. However, at that time, there wasn't a sign of anyone in that place. The homeless people were disappearing. The reason, I will not talk about it here, but they are disappearing. In their place was just one human shadow. It was a slender figure. It was a figure that suits the blackness which devours the night. It's the figure of a young girl. It was the body of an elegant and vibrant woman. Although her head was covered by a thick hood, the black clothes that covered her body were sticking perfectly to her frame and were clearly displaying her dark brown limbs, which could be interpreted as well balanced. For her age, is it the latter half of her teens? Uh-oh. Didn't know that. If one were to glance at her, they'd probably be captivated by her body, which had a resilience that was still filled with youth. But if they were the eyes of a person who had experience with a blade to take a life, they'd probably grasp that her flesh was filled with an intentional femininity, was being trained to fight. The woman was a warrior. To be precise, she was a person who was determined to steal a life in the darkness. The moonlight illuminates the woman's face, a skull affixed to it. From her ears to her chin, there was beauty in the features that could be peeped at from her neckline. However, the area concerning from the eyes to the nose were concealed by a symbolic skull mask, making her precise face unable to be deduced. The woman slowly walks forward. As she walks toward the front of the magnificent water fountain that had taken its name from a waterfall that flows down to Lake Ontario... Canada reference! Canada reference! We did it, gamers. Canada is officially part of the Fate canon for about the third time ever. That's it. That's about the third time. And it's also Niagara again. This is the second time Niagara has been talked about. I can't believe it. Anyways. In late at night Shinjuku Central Park, the woman humbly lowers her head. You needn't be so frightened. A voice rings out. It was a voice spun from the lips of a girl. In front of the woman is a girl. Even though there shouldn't have been anyone until there just a second ago. Indeed, the girl had appeared in a space where no one was supposed to be there. With no sounds, no indications. As if the heart of time had stopped. It's like she had transitioned here by ripping apart the body of space itself. So how was it? I think you were telling me about a relatively big matter. I was. So, do you have something you wish to tell me? No, yes. Please tell me. Everything was a result of my weakness, my incompetence. There are no excuses for them. Without raising her head, the woman speaks these words to the girl. She couldn't look at the girl's appearance with her back turned to the water fountain in the moonlight overhead, but it was a stance that could easily be understood as someone like myself doesn't have the qualifications to do so. This is an interesting character dynamic. The woman was devoting her all to her absolute master. Whoa, wait, what? The neck she presents was an embodiment of her desire to always offer her life to you, the young lady. Please, my lady, I want you to take my head, right now, in this spot. Lady Manaka, it's fine. I knew it straight from the start. The position that Castor made for us is truly powerful, for going into the home of a master, that is. The girl weakly smiles. It will be hard for you, right? Although you're cute, breaking in through the front will probably be a bit difficult for you. Besides, the girl continued her speech, still smiling. Her weak smile changes into a genuine one. She could guess the reason for it, but it was easy enough for the woman to understand. After all, the words brought from the girl's lips as she started to say, besides, was about the topic of her comforting Saber. The woman was already aware that her peace, her joy, and her amusement did not lie in itself. It was just him who had it. I must not be jealous. The woman just tilts her ears to the words. Even if I just hang on to her words like so, this, just being able to listen to her sound, which resembles one composed by a heavenly messenger, honors me so much. And then, I made him some scones. I think I baked them well this time, and he ate a lot of them for me, but his thoughts to the taste were so cold and bland. It's delicious, and I like it, he said, but that's all he said. And although I'm happy, so happy, you see, female djinn would be able to match the loveliness of her swelling cheeks. I think it's not a very good thing to call what he said one-patterned. Of course, no matter what he says, I'll be happy. Yes. Do you think he and I will be happy together forever from now on? Yes. In that case, I think change will become our spice to keep us from never getting bored with each other for all eternity. Huh. I'm sure. The woman silently wishes like it could be true for herself too. If I opened my mouth, then thoughts like this would flow out from it. The girl is spinning her thoughts from her lips without hesitation. It's no different than myself as I keep shutting my lips. Essentially, there's no change. No matter who my partner is, for example, I'll play the act of a doll who doesn't care about their partner. Although, I'm just speaking about my own feelings even so. By the way, do you have enough prana? Suddenly the girl asks. It's as if she's asking whether the skinny dog with the empty stomach is hungry. The woman opens her lips, but instead of words, she presents an item that she silently obtained. It was lipstick. A red lipstick which had been completely used up. See Fragments 3 from the second drama CD. I mean, you don't need to tell me that because I feel like the implication is very obvious. It's very much like, oh, are you confused by this? You make sure. It's like, well, one, I'm going to read that if that is one of the things that we have. But also, like, I think it's pretty obvious what's being said here. You don't need to spell it out for me. I know context clues, buddy. In other words, they cannot exist without prana. They cannot exist without prana. In other words, they cannot exist without a master. Although as an exception there are human souls. It is possible to replenish their prana by feeding them with these. Magi are not beings that can be bound by human morality. Thus, the feeding on souls is not necessarily forbidden. However, if performed in excess, then it can easily lead to the revelation of mysteries, so be careful. An extract from an old notebook. You seem fine to me. She accepts the lipstick. The girl passes a smile to the woman who serves her for now. So, this is interesting. Why? What is going on? Amazing. You had a proper meal by yourself. Along with a there, she pats the woman kindly. Oh, I know. Oh my god, I see exactly what it's gonna be. She pats the woman kindly with the white fingertips until they are fleeting. After removing her hood, she did it on her hair and her head. The woman's body trembled. No, she was shivering. It's not the night air. It's not fear. It's pleasure. Joy. My deep emotions were allowing her to touch me. So just like with Gouda, just like with Fujimaru, or the main character, she immediately falls in love with someone who can touch her. Oh my god, okay. Now, the whole touching her thing, that's a question of its own, but... Her nails could easily touch this. My whole body, which could even be called a noble phantasm now. My whole body, which was comprised of the death that, even in my size, body fluids, and maybe even my skin too. Undying, undefeatable. A girl who, on the contrary, isn't even in a state of agony. Having been born fallen with the name of Manaka Seijo, she is a creation subjugating miracle in itself. That is interesting. If something like fate, is possible in this world, then surely I who died in the distant past might have met her before I got such a temporary existence. I'm certain of it. The woman was convinced of it. The brilliant girl, like the moonlight which floats disrupting the night, which had promised absolute darkness to just one person. My master, my everything, is the reliable partner whom I am finally able to get for the first time. The woman shivers. Having personally decided to be my one and only master, just being able to be touched by the girl's fingertips is amazing. Like this, I can only get a pat on the head. You're so amazing, you. It seethes. My entire body is getting hotter. You're amazing and beautiful. In addition, you're a very cute girl. The other day, No, since the night we met in Ikebukuro, I expect much from you. As always, I submit myself to your radiance. So please, hang in there a little bit longer, assassin. The girl smiles. As I bask in the starlight and moonlight, her shine, her dazzle stays with me. This is wild. So this is very clearly the exact same thing that happened with Grand Order, right? Where the main character has poison immunity thanks to MASH. He's able to touch her, and she immediately goes, "Oh my god, you're my soulmate." Considering the age gap, this is slightly less weird than Saber, but it's still a little bit. But let's hope that it is mostly platonic, but it definitely doesn't feel that way. It definitely doesn't feel that way, you know. Anyways, we are about halfway through Volume 1. It's been going good so far. Next time, Little Lady, Act 5. So we will give a chance to read that. I'm going to add a bookmark. But then also, I'm just going to go back to, if I go to the start here. So it said Fragments. Is that included here? We do have Fragments included. Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. Anyways, thank you all for watching, guys. We'll be, well, watching, listening, whatever you do. We'll be reading next time Act 5, Act 6, and then we'll probably do Servants and the Fragments all together next time. We'll see then for that, guys, for some more reading of Fate Prototype, Fragments of Sky Silver, right, the Volume 1. We'll see then for that. Ciao.